November 19th, 2019 meeting of the Carlynton School District Board of Directors is called to order. Ms. McMurdo, would you mind leading us in the pledge?
Sure. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Zelensky.
Here.
Director Simpson. Here. Director Russo.
Here.
Director O'Brien.
Here.
Director Mendoza. Here. Director Hunter.
Here.
Director Frank.
Here.
Director Apple.
Here.
Director Schreiber.
Here. There's a moment at the beginning of our meeting where we invite the public to comment on anything that we're considering on tonight's agenda. So is there anyone that has questions or comments about an agenda item for tonight?
Yes.
Could you identify your name for us? Sir?
Sure, Roy Neiman, I'm from Crafton. I want to compliment the school district on what they've done for my stepdaughter. She's on the spectrum, as they say, and you people have bent over backwards to help her. And I just want, you hardly ever hear good stuff, right? I just want to compliment you folks. Thank you. She came from CD. So just to let you know.
Thank
you very much. We do appreciate that very much,
Oh,
for the
thank you.
reason that you said.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on agenda items? Yeah.
I don't know if this is an agenda item or not. I have the reason I'm here. We've been hearing about a development on Steuben Street that the school board is considering selling property. And I didn't know if it's appropriate to comment on that right now or not.
Yeah, we would probably want to discuss that in the open forum section at the very end, so
Okay.
there might be others that have the same question.
Okay.
Any other agenda item questions? If not, we'll move on. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October 15th regular voting meeting and the minutes of the November 12th Finance Committee meeting as presented.
I so
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I'll report that we had an executive session prior to this meeting where we covered real estate, personnel, and negotiations. Turning to our administration for a superintendent's report.
I have nothing right now. We went over quite a bit at the finance meeting. Dr. McPeary, did you have anything?
I do not.
Any other administrative comments, or is that, are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay. Moving on to the miscellaneous section of our meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve number one, the additions to the 2019-2020 conference and field trip
I'm
request.
sorry, Jim. Did we want to do committee reports and anything like that?
We could, and we didn't last time, so, yeah, if anyone, we'll jump in and do that. I'll hold my request for motion. You want to start with Park West?
I do, yeah, thanks. So we had the Parkway West meeting on November the 5th, first Tuesday of the month. Got a lot of stuff going on. One of the things I wanted to say was that I wanted to make it known to folks that Parkway will be here on the 24th of January. We're talking to students for recruitment day for the different programs out there. And I'd like to remind people that starting this year, we have 9th through 12th grade students out at Parkway. So, 8th graders now maybe take the opportunity to explore some of the programs out there. And to that end, our career exploration day will be out there at Parkway West on the 31st in the morning. So there's that. And
Sorry, Joe, is that January 31st?
January 31st, correct. Sorry about that. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. The other thing is that our students out there do very well. We have 3 students, as a matter of fact, Jeremy Harshman, Brianna Matthews, and Gage Leach, who are in the culinary arts, cosmetology, and health assistant programs, respectively, who have earned college credit towards their career major. 4 credits and 3 credits for Brianna and Gage. So it's a really rigorous and good program out there. As a matter of fact, one of the recognitions that was given to Parkway West is the Pennsylvania Department of Education put out this Pennsylvania's Guide to Best Practices in Cooperative Education. And they did 5 case studies from different CTCs across the state, and Parkway was chosen as one of them. So that's quite an honor and a recognition of just how well that school is run out there. So again, I would encourage anybody who's interested in any of the programs out there, whether they're 8th graders, 9th graders, whatever, to talk with someone on the 24th of January and take advantage of the Career Exploration Day on the 31st. Any questions, anyone? Thank you.
Would Shasta, any updates on that? No? Pathfinder?
Sure, Pathfinder. The next meeting is tomorrow. At last month's meeting, October 16th, we have 81 kids at Pathfinder, 1 student from Carlynton. We have 5 autistic support classrooms with 35 kids. We have 2 life skills support classrooms with 26 kids. And we have 2 MDS, multiple disability support classrooms with the rest of the kids. The roofing project went very well, and actually it was under budget, so we'll be getting a check. And the maintenance man that we have is a guy like Dennis. He's just amazing. Amazing, and he's retiring. But we're going to, he's going to be consulting with us at $2,000 a month. And I think it's going to be a good thing to get the people in training to come up to his skill level. But like Dennis, this Rob is just amazing. But anyway, that's the Pathfinder report.
Chris, any
I
updates
have
on
no
these?
idea.
Any other questions about committee reports or any other comments?
And just to say that Mr. Frank and I will be attending the Shasta meeting this coming Thursday. So we do have an upcoming meeting as well.
Do you want to share that at the December 3rd meeting?
Thank you.
Moving on to the miscellaneous section of our meeting, I'll entertain a motion to approve 2 items. Number 1, the additions to the 2019-2020 conference and field trip requests. And number 2, the resolution to identify and authorize the electronic signature of Christopher Juslick, acting superintendent, for signing all electronic agreements with the PA Department of Education. Do I have a motion for those 2 items?
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under section 2, finance, we have 12 items. Let's split it in half. We'll do the first 6. I'll entertain a motion to approve number 1, the treasurer's report for the month ending June 30th, 2019 as submitted. Number 2, the treasurer's report for the month ending July 31st as submitted. The budget clarified June 30th and July 31st, 2019 as submitted. Number 3, the budget transfers for November 2019 as submitted. Number 4, continued participation in the Western Pennsylvania Electric Consortium for a new contract period to begin on the meter read date in January 2021 and extend for a 1, 2, or 3-year period based on pricing received from up to 6 major electrical suppliers. This cost-saving participation agreement is arranged through the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. Number 5, the 2019-2020 tuition agreement between the district and the School District of Pittsburgh and program for students with exceptionalities for the education of a district student per the terms of the agreement for the 2019-2020 school year. And number 6, ratify the purchase of 20 cafeteria tables for the junior senior high school purchased through the cafeteria fund at a CoStar's low bid cost of $15,451.20. We'll entertain a motion to approve those 6 items, please.
So moved.
Moved by the second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve items 7 through 12. Number 7, the 5-year preventative maintenance agreement between the district and Train for the preservation and management of the junior senior high school HVAC system at a cost of $36,480 for 1 year and a 2% increase per year for the remainder of the agreement. Number 8, the athletic fund report for the month ending September 30th, 2019, in the amount of $13,315.77. Number 9, the activities fund report for the month ending September 30th, 2019, in the amount of $85,296.67. Number 10, the athletic fund report for the month ending October 31st, 2019, in the amount of $14,550.85. Number 11, the activities fund report for the month ending October 31st, 2019, in the amount of $88,965.92. And number 12, the lowest responsible bid for the purchase, replacement, and upgrades to the district core switches and antivirus licensing at a cost of $80,779.10 to be paid over a 5-year lease period with no penalty or early payoff. Do I have a motion for those items, number 7 through 12? So moved. Moved on a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes. With regard to number 7, the 5-year preventative maintenance agreement between the district and Frank. And I look to our facilities guy and our interim superintendent. Is this tied into the work that they did not too long ago, or is this a separate? Right, they did some work. I wasn't here at the time, but
For the energy saving.
you know, I'm sorry.
For the energy saving
Right.
project.
Is this related to that, or this is different?
It's separate, it's the maintenance
Okay.
for all the HVAC equipment here at the high school. Not just the new equipment, but the existing equipment that was here, the chillers, the univents that were here, the existing air handlers in here. It encompasses all the HVAC system here at the high school.
Okay. Thank you.
And the controls, too.
We did some controls though.
We all new controls here.
That was part
And
of
that was part of the
big package
program.
we did a couple years
Right,
ago.
and that 36,000 includes that price in that too.
Okay.
And train doing that preventative maintenance, that will help with the controls also. That will help them. There'll be no questions on if there's any discrepancies with the energy saving.
And when they did that energy saving work, they made guarantees that we were going to save money equal to or greater than its cost. Have we verified that? Have we, I don't know what the process is. Are there annual
The
reports?
project was not actually complete till February of last year. So they come in at February of the following year. They do pay attention to it through the year. I don't believe we have many reports, but we do have our AP person keeping track of the bills and the energy usage and the gas usage, and that information has been passed over to Dennis. So we've been keeping kind of an unofficial tabs on it, but come February, they come in and do their full review to determine if it saved what we were promised.
So when you said it was done February last year, you saying February 18 or February 19?
It was completed February 2019.
Okay.
We signed off.
It didn't
We haven't
start
finished
until
the year
project.
yet.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't
gotcha.
until the project was officially completed
understand.
and we signed off, that's when they start their savings process. So we did get some time
Right.
of savings without that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And, Mr. President, I also with Josh, with you here, I believe on item 12, that's a big number, and some of that is being covered by grant money, which the district has received. If that's correct.
So it's just by reimbursement. They call it a discount. The vendors will bill USAC, which is where you get the E-rate money from. So we just pay our share, which is that number, and they're covering a $20,430.60 off of that cost. If that makes sense.
On that topic, I think last time the board was in pretty strong agreement that we definitely wanted to take care of the issue that you had identified, a gap in service.
Yes.
There was some discussion about finding alternative ways to help reduce that cost. I don't know if you had any luck in exploring that.
Yes, so we did look into some other vendors, and then I also looked through how our process was done. Well, they reached out to about 18 different vendors, including HP, Dell, all the major ones, Alcatel, Cisco, and we got back our Alcatel bid, and that was the most cost-efficient cost-effective bid that we received.
And then you reach out to some additional also.
We did, yes.
In between now and.
Yeah, after our last board meeting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions, any other items? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under section 3 personnel, there are 5 items. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Number 1, the addition to the 2019-2020 athletic supplemental list. Number 2, appoint Holly Burnett to the as-needed position of elementary in-school suspension aide at Crafton Elementary School for the terms of the SCA collective bargaining unit agreement. Number 3, approve Cynthia Bevan and Elaine Rakowski to the positions of after-school math and reading tutors, respectively at Carnegie Elementary, consistent with the terms and conditions of the CFT collective bargaining unit agreement. The positions are for 2 hours per week at $35 per hour and funded by a Ready to Learn grant. Number 4, appoint Sharon Volanek-Talmati to the position of lunchroom playground aide at Carnegie Elementary, retroactive to October 21st, 2019, consistent with the terms of the SCA collective bargaining unit agreement. And number 5, reassign Cheryl Irwin to the position of life skills autistic support aide at Crafton Elementary, retroactive to October 7th, 2019, consistent with the terms and conditions of the SCA collective bargaining unit agreement. Do I have a motion for those 5 items?
So moved.
Moved by the second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under section 4, student services, I'll entertain a motion to approve 2 items. Number 1, the revised list of van drivers for the 2019-2020 school year as submitted by Ronick Van Services. Number 2, the proposed spring marching band trip to Williamsburg, Virginia, April 16 to 19, 2020. Do I have a motion for those 2 items?
So moved.
Moved by the second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question. Why was the list revised?
Just through the school year, drivers are added, they leave. So anybody that's added, they need to provide more clearances for us. And when we've been going through this state audit at the time to the Audit General's office, that was one of the things they did point out. As lists are revised, we have to approve them once again to make sure, hey, all clearances are in. That way the board is aware of it and they are board approved.
Okay, those are positive reasons.
No, nothing, and it's helped to learn the process of that transportation aspect through the state audit, so that's a positive in my opinion.
Any other questions? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under section 5, policy, I'll entertain a motion for 2 items. Number 1, the second and final reading of the following policies per the full PSBA policy review. Policy number 911, news media relations. Policy number 912, relations with educational institutions. Policy number 913, non-school organizations, groups, or individuals. Policy number 914, relations with intermediate unit. Policy number 916, volunteers with attachment volunteer applications. And policy number 917, parent-family involvement. Number 2, the second and final reading of the revision to policy 227, drug awareness. Do I have a motion for those 2 items?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under old business, today's director have any old business they would like to bring up? Under new business, any director have any new business they'd like to bring up? I would like to quickly comment, perhaps it's a bit of old and new. The staff brought board docs to us, and we had a training today, and this is one of the steps that the district wants to do to try to make our business and our transactions more transparent. So we're hopefully going to have that early in 2020, Michelle, is that? Potentially even in December. So that'll help us be more efficient, and it'll help you have a better view into our transactions and our activities.
And there will be a link to that on the website.
Thank you. Any other new business items from any board member? If not, we'll go to open forum, and I know we have at least one question for open forum. If you want to start with you and then you share your name, please.
Yep, Joe Balabek. I live at 170 West Steuben Street, and It's come to my attention that there's an issue with the property that is adjacent to my property, and that's what I wanted to bring up. I was approached by a developer from Sheets about a month ago, and he had said that the school board was looking to sell the property behind my house and adjacent to my house, next to my house as well. He'd even gone so far as to show me a plan and show us a couple different things that they had in mind. Now, the one thing I was impressed with his plan was it included green space. It included sort of a town center sort of a place. There were water features. The development was central, and the green space was around the outside. So my wife and I were, at first not on board at all with any of this. But we felt like if there was something to have to go in there, we felt like that was an appropriate and community-friendly sort of a development. Now then, it came to our attention that I don't know this. You may be considering something else. A Giant Eagle proposal is what we have heard, and we've not heard anything from Giant Eagle other than they were just going to put a mini mart and a gas station there, a get-go basically, and it will impact us directly. It will be on both sides of my property, and it will obviously lower my property value. No one wants to be right next to, on two sides, have a gas station. And so we've not been approached by them at all. We don't know anything about this plan, and that was my concern. I'd like to hear something about it. If you all have talked about this, if this is something that I need to be concerned about.
I can provide, I think, as much information as the board can at this point.
Okay.
And obviously, I can't answer should you be concerned. You'll have to make that call. The board, as you may or may not know, did pass what's called an intergovernmental cooperation agreement. And that agreement is with the Borough of Crafton, and it is to explore possibilities and offers relative to developing the property which you're speaking about. Because there is no agreement of sale that has been passed, the board cannot legally discuss at this point what the rumors may be or what the rumors may not be. And until such time as the Borough of Crafton passes the cooperation agreement, which will clear up various title problems, really there is no action that the board can take beyond that at this point. It's our understanding that the intergovernmental cooperation agreement has been discussed at Crafton. It is our understanding that it is in the process of being considered and hopefully passed by them, at which point the next steps in the process can take place and we can talk about what the offers that have come in, what's the best, what produces the best for all concerned, including price. So we really can't talk about specifics at this point. Obviously, we know there are rumors out there, but that's really all the board can say at this point.
Will there be public consideration as far as that's concerned?
There is always opportunity for public comment before any action is taken. As you saw tonight, there's always two opportunities. If there is a motion to sell any real estate, the public has the opportunity to comment and discuss upon that prior to its being passed.
Okay. One more thing, and this is just a personal note. I understand that school districts are strapped for money. And believe me, it's a business like anything else, and dealing with the government is even tougher. But things like this oftentimes just go to the highest bidder. And I hope that's not what happens here, because it impacts the community.
It does, and I can comment on that for you. The school code is fairly specific on this issue, that it says that if you're going to sell unused or unnecessary property, it has to be sold to the highest bidder in a competitive bid situation. Now, there are some factors that can be taken into account. $1 million versus $1.1 million, those are the same. The court will look at that the same way. But if there is substantial spread in offers that will come in for the same property, a school district is
Can you tell me this?
obligated by the code to do that.
How did that property come into the school district's?
This particular property or properties came into the school district, don't quote me on the exact dates, but back in the 20s. In fact, somebody may have a chart here. It came from 4 or 5 different parcels. Total consideration at that time for vacant land was about $30,000. I didn't do the math to bring that forward, but it 400 and some thousand. So it was purchased back in the 20s at what would then have been considered certainly fair market value.
Were there stipulations on that sale? Were there
I can tell you
use?
I was not the solicitor at that point.
There had to be an agreement. There's got to be somewhere.
There are no restrictions on the sale of that property.
Okay.
The title was clean for that sale.
Okay. And now I didn't mean restrictions title-wise. I meant stipulations put in the sale
Well,
as to the proper use of the land.
That's what I'm talking about in
Okay.
terms of clear title.
Okay.
There are no restrictions on how the property, when the property can be sold, other than the current school code language that says, 1, it must be unused and unnecessary for school purposes, and 2, that it be sold to the highest competitive bid after proper advertisement. And finally, it requires court approval.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yes.
Coletta Perry, 10 Baldwick, Crafton. Also, I am president of the Crafton Borough Council at the moment. I would like to clarify the situation of the Crafton Council's situation with the intergovernmental agreement. The school board did pass it, which means that the information in that intergovernmental agreement is public knowledge, and it stipulates Armstrong development.
It does. It's a public document,
Okay,
and it's
yes,
open to
absolutely.
anybody and everybody to take a look at.
Absolutely.
That
So,
does not talk about what terms and conditions
no,
of the sale may
absolutely.
be.
But Armstrong is the developer for Giant Eagle. So let's be clear about that. Now, the other thing is that in our last meeting, the Borough Council has to pass an intergovernmental agreement by ordinance, and we've discussed this back and forth amongst ourselves for
We're
a
well
month
aware of that also.
as well. So what that means is it has to be, as you said, open for community comment, because we put it on the agenda to talk about advertising. At our last meeting, we approved it to be advertised, which put in motion the process of 30 days advertising, and that we must have a public hearing before we can vote on it. So I just want to have that known to everybody who is here tonight, that
That's
that
good
process
news for us.
is
And,
in,
you know, we are moving forward, and, you know,
and
Mr.
that the vote,
Balavik, I'm sorry?
Balavik.
Balavik. Will have the opportunity, as will everybody else from Grafton,
right,
to address your council.
to address council, so we have a chance to hear what the community thinks about it. But I just did want to make it clear what the situation is, that it is in motion for advertising, which I made clear at our meeting, that a vote to advertise an ordinance is not necessarily a vote to support the process, only to get the process in motion for the community to come and express their interests, their opinions. Thank you.
I'm glad to hear the process is moving.
So just one thing. So then if it is Giant Eagle, that's confirmed it is Giant Eagle that's made an offer.
Well, Ms. Coletta said what she said. You can discuss with her. I'm telling you from a legal standpoint, I can't discuss more than what's in the agreement itself. I can't get into specifics in terms of anything beyond that. I personally don't know who Armstrong represents. They may represent Giant Eagle, they may represent other people. So, you know, I said Ms. Coletta, I meant Ms. Perry.
That's fine.
You know,
It works.
Okay. Thank you.
Before I take the next question, so Colette, is there a time frame on the Borough Council's, you said you
Well,
advertise?
I don't have an exact date, because it has to coincide with being able to advertise in a publication of general circulation, and so I have not gotten a confirmation of the date that that's actually going to go in.
So the advertisement hasn't occurred yet, so it'll be.
I can't say whether it has or not because I haven't confirmed that.
So it was approved last Tuesday, and I think whatever the outlet media is, the deadline was Thursday, but there was some problem with getting it in. So whether it's physically advertised or not advertised is a matter of have they processed the application to advertise, but it is in process to be advertised.
Do you know if the 30-day period begins once the advertisement is
Yes.
in the
Yes,
publication?
once it actually is published.
So then it would be the next meeting that you would have after that 30-day window, is that?
Potentially.
Which is why we invited Armstrong to come and present to us. We felt that.
Look, I'm going to jump in here, and as I said earlier, we can't discuss the details of that. If council wants to meet and talk about those things in executive session, we've done that, we'd be happy to do it again. We simply cannot have a public discussion relative to that aspect of it until we have an agreement in front of us to discuss. So I'm going to tell you that we should move forward at this point on that issue.
Hey,
So it was stated that the document in question is public and therefore we should be able to view it. Where? How do we find that?
There's a great article in the Trib that explains it, but that is not the actual article.
Let us answer, please. I suggest that if you call either Dr. D'Imperio or Mr. Jeswick, they'll get you a copy of the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement verbatim as was passed by the board. It would be in the minutes or attached to the minutes, but they will be happy to provide you with a verbatim copy.
and very soon documents like that will be on our board docs.
Right.
It's like very, very soon. Good question. Any other? Yes.
Follow-up question for Ms. Sanders. So you stated that the public comment will be available with this group once the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement is passed from the council, from the drafting council, and that would it adhere, what you mentioned was a public bidding process to the highest bidder?
I did not mention that. Let me be clear. If and when at such time there is a motion to accept any offer of sale, that before that will be passed under sunshine, there must be the opportunity for public comment. There are a number of ways to sell real estate under the school code. It can be done by a public bid. That's one way. Another way is through private sale. That's where an offer comes in, it's accepted, rejected, negotiated, whatever the case may be, then is presented to the court finally for approval. So it will not be necessarily a bid situation, but until those offers come in, again, I'm going to really instruct the board that we're not going to discuss that any further. We've really said as much as we can say tonight.
Any other? Sorry.
My name's Jamie Harvey. I live in Roslyn Farms. I have two things. The first thing, I came to the meeting to talk about tonight. The other thing, I have a question. Why, I've had kids in Carlynton for many years. I've never heard of in-school suspension. Why does an elementary school have in-school suspension? I've never been aware that there's
never heard for our district or at all?
At all at the elementary level. I know there's recess detention.
Can I answer that? I don't think that that's what they mean. They mean it's, and that's exactly it. It's recess detention. There's
No.
somebody in school.
No, the recess detention and after-school detention are supplemental teacher contracts.
The title might not be a good one, but what the goal here is, and I think, Lisa, you are on the right track, it's to keep children in school for minor misbehaviors. We do not want to be sending elementary children home. So sometimes we give them, and maybe a more appropriate term would have been a timeout period where they can go to another classroom. Sometimes they're given a small assignment is, how can you correct your behavior? How can you get back into the classroom? But I can appreciate why you picked up on that term. And when I saw it in tonight's meeting, I was thinking maybe that wasn't the best language we could have used, but I think it may be in the teacher's contract, and that's why we used it. But it's not meant to be suspensions as such, just kind of a timeout from the instruction.
I guess I'm still confused because they do, Carlynton has recess detention,
Yes.
which could be a timeout from recess, and they can go and do work there. And they also have after-school detention. Both of those are covered by teacher contracts, supplemental teacher contracts. And in the minutes, it talks about this in-school suspension is, I think I'm correct in saying it's under the paraprofessional contract or the teacher.
Yes.
So I'm confused. It sounds like it's two completely different positions.
It is, they are different positions because the one occurs before school, the other during recess, and this occurs during the school day. For some children who may need some time out of the regular classroom. That's all it is.
Okay,
And it
but
also
shouldn't the
keeps
school have notified parents that this is in-school suspension is a big deal? And we were not made aware that that's a big discipline policy change.
It is?
Yes.
Yeah.
When have we had in-school suspension?
No, we've had it for years.
I've never heard of it.
Well, that doesn't mean we haven't had
And I
it.
So I do work in the elementary
Yeah.
schools too, and I've worked in other districts. It is there, but it's rarely used. And usually it's, when you do out-of-school suspension, it's probably for a very severe cause. But part of it is like that to retain them in school, and they can still be receiving, if they're special ed, they still get their services, or they're still being taught, but they're just not in the general placement. So it's a form of discipline, and it's not meant to be used very often. Because I know one of the elementary school buildings I'm in, they have a specific room that's attached to the principals that has a big window for in-school suspension. Sometimes it is, they need a break, or they work with a behavior specialist, but it is something that's used. It's just not very often.
I'm just totally unaware of
I
it.
think
And
part of
I
it is
probably would have been made aware of it. Just, I probably wouldn't know of it, and I've never heard of it.
And Michelle reminds me it is in the student handbook. But your issue, if some other parents are not aware, is easily addressed. I will remind the elementary principals, because it's been unfilled for a while, there might be a reminder as to what it is and how it's used. And
Okay.
we do thank you for that.
My other is a question. Are any of you, I know we've talked about transportation a lot this fall. Are any of you aware that one of the Roslyn Farms bus drivers has resigned from, is it Student America, the bus company that we use?
We get updated. I think previously when George asked the question, we had a recent update where we approved new drivers from Roanoke. and-
Right, this isn't Ronin, this is like the big yellow
Yeah,
bus.
I understand,
Okay.
but I was using Roanoke as
Oh,
an
okay.
example. So we are constantly, the transportation, our AP person deals with the transportation on day-to-day aspects, so she keeps all clearances and such. So anybody they bring in, I don't know exactly what the concern is with it, but to kind of go down this path, and they all have to have their clearances, they have to have their CDL.
That's
so
not
they
my
go through
concern.
the Okay.
Okay. My concern is, I'm not sure if you're aware, I've talked to him, he's been our bus driver for several years, and he has resigned because he does not feel it's a safe situation. He feels that there's too many kids on the bus, kids are falling out of seats, and the kids are on the bus for too long. And he has resigned because he doesn't feel it's a safe situation with winter coming, big coats, kids carrying instruments. It gets to be difficult. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that there's bus drivers who are resigning from their job because it's not a safe
Well, I
position.
disagree with the length of the bus routes. I think we more normalize it because there were short routes. And I think if a bus driver had those issues, there should be communication with the bus garage, which we've dealt with several safety issues. STA has been wonderful. Lois and Nikki at STA have been fantastic. Anytime it's been a safety issue or such, they've called, we've switched it, we've added routing this year as from where we started as we went along. So I feel if that is an issue, the communication was not given to the district, and I'm not throwing any blame at Nikki or Lois with STA, but there was no communication to us, hey, this guy quit because of this.
Okay.
So I find that a little worrisome that an individual will go out to the community and complain and not tell STA this.
I don't know if I know earlier in the year he had been communicating with
Yeah, and
the
like
company.
I said, we
I
had
don't
very
know.
short routes. We had some routes over 7 minutes. So, and that's very unusual through school districts, as I reached
Right.
out to several business managers through business organizations, transportation training. We did not, we were allowed up to 72 children on a bus. Now, is that optimal? Not always, but it is legally allowable. So, and not all buses are pushed to that level. So,
I think
there's a little bit of uncomfortableness as such a big change in 1 year.
and I understand, is it monitored throughout the year? Because
Yes.
I will tell you, I did talk to a 6th grader. Now, he's a 6th grader, but he rides the bus, he's a safety monitor. And just said, how's the bus ride? It is the bus that my children would ride. And he said it's very crowded, all the safeties need to stand. And that there are issues when there are children that are not little, teeny tiny kids.
The safeties aren't allowed to stand.
That's what's happening on the bus. They're not supposed to be, but there's not enough room on the bus. So I'm just wondering if this is, parents aren't on the bus. We're only getting what our kids tell us. And we're being told
And I can follow up with the bus.
I think it'd be a really good idea to follow up sporadically.
The goal is not for it to be safe. Like I said, several changes has been made. Anytime it's a safety issue, we have made the change. We've adjusted routes. We've added a bus, through Carnegie. We've added space and Crafton too. Like I said,
I just want to make
process,
sure you're aware.
And people are really out of their comfort zone now because, the rides are a little bit longer, but they're not unreasonable.
I'm not worried about the ride, the length. I'm not worried about the length. It was a 3-year, it was like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
It's down to about 30, 35.
Yeah, they cleaned up because, like I said, it's a big. Anytime somebody starts a new job or does something new, there is a learning curve with it. And
Yes.
I think a lot of our bus drivers have been great, went along with things. So it is concerning that the complaint was not. That I never heard a complaint on that.
But we'll follow up with STA, and by the next meeting, we'll have a solid comfort level.
I just want to make sure the kids are safe, that,
Absolutely, that's all.
No, and I appreciate that, because obviously we're all like.
and I know everybody's got tons of stuff. They have big backpacks, they have instruments, so I know the law says 72 kids, but that might not be what's safe. That might be if they're all like 50 pounds and tiny and skinny and can fit 3 in a seat. But I do know when there are larger children, it's harder to fit 3. So, thank you.
You raise your hand.
Yes. Hi, I'm Susie Pushkar. I'm the parent of a 1st grader at Carlynton. I'm also the Senior Director of Workforce Programs for Partner for Work. We're the Workforce Development Board for Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. So I commend the report from Parkway and like to see that partnership and cooperation, but wanted to call your attention as a board to a couple of things. One is there are some really great grant opportunities that are available right now through the Commonwealth, the Department of Education, and the Department of Labor and Industry have released a joint proposal for educator in the workplace funding, so to get educators within the district out to local businesses to understand what are the career pathways that are available to students. We also have an RFP open for Learn and Earn. We administer the Summer Youth Employment Program on the city and the county. So for 14 to 21-year-olds who are interested in working over the summer, we have that opportunity available. And I wanted to ask the question of you guys of what is the plan for college and career readiness here, and how is that factoring in particular to the superintendent search, and to how we can kind of work together to make sure that students who graduate from Carlynton are prepared for the careers of the future. And that doesn't necessarily need an answer, but wanted to kind of plant that in your heads.
Excuse me, and could you repeat your full name?
Susie Pushkar.
And Ms. Pushkar, would you give me your card after the meeting, so we'll be in contact, we'll get together. We do many things. We have a career fair. Mrs. Simpson has been very active, where she there in providing our youngsters with a variety of workforce activities, scientific games that translate into work opportunities. And interestingly enough, if you read one of our local newspapers last night, I met with the director of curriculum last night, there was a great article on some things that other school districts are doing in what they call financial literacy, preparing kids, and even how to handle college debt. And so I brought those articles in and I said, hey, we really need to take another serious. We are doing some things, we probably could do more, but we'd love to have a dialogue with you. Thank you so much. And again,
And we don't provide any direct services in-house as a workforce board. We're legally not allowed to, but what we do is create those connections and foster that opportunity for really a continued dialogue or that kids are ready to go in and meet the future needs of business. And as a parent, I also have a vested interest in making sure the district can deliver on it. So.
There's actually an article on the website right now about career readiness and some programs that the kids have done and will be doing this year, just as an FYI.
Like Partner Up, which is a program that we fund.
thank you,
We have
Michelle.
kids involved right now with Convestro, and they're doing project-based learning where they're developing sustainability goals along with the United Nations. So the kids are actually going to different businesses right now, working with business leaders in all of Allegheny and Washington County to develop and work on these goals. And it's been a big project. The kids are leaving and then coming back with ideas. So it's a great thing, but there's quite a few different things that they're doing.
Thank you for bringing that, and many of the directors have expressed an interest in that area, so we hope that you keep going back and stay engaged. I had Mr. Smith, you had a...
Okay, I'm Rich Smith of Carlynton. And so I see that, Mr. Duswick, you are now our new interim superintendent. Acting interim superintendent. I was just curious as what information fueled this decision for our school?
It's somewhat complicated. Should I turn to our solicitor and ask for...
I'm not sure what your question is, sir.
Why the change?
Why the change?
Yes.
School code governs, and it says that an acting superintendent serves in a one-year capacity. Dr. D'Imperio's one-year term had expired, therefore it was necessary to replace or have a new acting superintendent in place. Because the superintendent search is nearing its conclusion, the thought on the board was not to go out and find somebody who would have to be retrained, get familiar with the district, but instead to utilize the services of someone who is already in the district and familiar with the ins and outs of the district, and have the opportunity to partner with Dr. D'Imperio, who has a long-standing history as a commissioned officer and has a letter of eligibility, and therefore is qualified to do any job within any school district in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Also, the qualifications that are required for your superintendent.
I'd be happy to. Mr. Apple just asked me about the qualifications for an interim superintendent. Quite simply, there are none. The school code provides that anybody can be appointed as an acting superintendent, including you and I. So there is no specific qualifications as there is for a permanent superintendent. However, in this situation, because of the fact of Dr. D'Imperio's longstanding experience, not only in education, but here in the Carlynton School District, the partnership made the most sense to the board in the short term, and certainly the board is hopeful that in early 2020 there will be a permanent superintendent who will possess both the letter of eligibility and then be commissioned by the Commonwealth.
Okay. I have another question, and it has to do, in previous board meetings, there have been principals reports, and I've noticed now we don't have those. What happened to those?
I believe we had one the last meeting.
Yeah.
We used to have them more frequently, and now we have them
I
less.
see, they're an infrequent thing, and just before I happened to go to the ones where they had them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, also, the last meeting we had, that was a fine.
Oh, I know that, but I mean previous board meetings too. I've noticed we not have them as often.
We're trying
We used to do it 2 public meetings.
Yeah, and we do try to rotate them based on what's happening in the school and if it merits, broadcasting on the website, not just to say that, we're having such and such little get-together, but we're trying to make it a little bit more significant. But it's good observation and a good reminder for me to remind the principals as they have things that we'd like to share them with.
And Reese, I appreciate hearing those updates from the principals too, so hopefully we'll have those more in 2020.
I have another question regarding, I know you said not to mention the property too much more, but
No, I said no more. We're not going to discuss it any further.
But you called it,
Not too much more.
you called it
Just so
unused and
I'm pointing
unneeded.
perfectly.
You
Go
called
ahead.
it unused and unneeded when that's, I've seen games played on that field, practices happen
Unused
there.
and needed for school purposes.
Extracurriculars are no longer considered school purposes?
Those are not school athletic teams that are up there.
I see, okay.
There's another hand that came up.
Nicole McMurdo, resident of Crafton. So the superintendent question was a nice segue to ask what is any progress on that, anything you can tell us on how that's going and anything?
I think we've said multiple times, but hoping 2020, do we early?
I
said 2020. Yeah.
Well, and let me just make this brief comment. As you get closer, the board gets closer to the selection, to a focus on one candidate, I mean, all kinds of things go into place. Formulating the contract, almost like kind of like the other issues that we discussed. Formulation of the contract, sending it to the person, seeing if they agree to it, give them time to review it, those kinds of things, and then bring it back. And also, our solicitor frequently cites the Pennsylvania School Code, either by contract of an employee in another school district or by school code. They can retain an employee for a certain period of time. So we're in that final stages of trying to tie this whole package together, and we're moving as quickly as we can.
Can I infer from that that we've narrowed it down to 1, 2, 3, maybe?
I like to call them focus candidates or a focus candidate because I've done so much over this over the past 30 years. From day to day, you do not, you're not sure what's going to happen on the end of the candidate or some other factor, and we'll leave it at that. But right now, we are focused on 1 or 2 candidates. They are excited about the prospect, particularly one of them, and we're working with that individual closely and trying to bring this to a conclusion.
And since we are ending the end of 2019 and you're hoping that this will start in 2020, I have a suggestion for the board for when you do hire someone is similar to when Dr. Maslick started in Crafton Elementary in 2000, that she did a meet and greet with the parents to get to know everyone. So I have a suggestion that you adopt her policy.
So I do want to comment too, for all the families that took the time and the employees and everyone that took the time to comment about their needs, interests, their priorities, which ended up matching a lot with ours, but it was really helpful for me having that in hand going through this process, because there's a lot of very educated, qualified, exciting candidates, but it always helped me to come anchor back and go, but what's Carlynton, what's our fit? What did the families reflect was important in, us learning from previous time. So I paid attention to that a lot. So I'm really glad for the families that came to Crafton, Carnegie, and up to the high school to be part of that. And even when they did the online survey, that was super helpful. And Dr. Kirk putting in things and everything else.
Thank you.
Since we have had an intern for a while, it would be nice for the public to have, when you decide on somebody, to have an opportunity to meet them, to get to know them, to start discussing where we go.
Yes.
But we made it very clear, because Carlynton's a very tight community. You're going to know everybody.
But Nikki, I like your idea. The board, what do you think about having our new superintendent, when he or she is available, to have a meet and greet night at Carnegie Elementary, meet and greet night at Crafton Elementary, meet and greet here? Like,
I think the final candidates we're looking at have all expressed an
Those
interest
are
in
values.
very involved.
To say.
And I would simply
That's right.
suggest that perhaps we can inform whoever's brought on of this conversation. I'm sure they'll take the correct and appropriate things. I will note that one of the things that the community as well as the board have noted is important is community relations. And that was a big part of all the conversations we had. So I fully expect whoever's brought on, the final person coming on, is going to be very involved.
But you have to plant the seed like that.
Absolutely, and we'll let them go. I don't want to start micromanaging our superintendent right from the spot and say, you got to go over there and do this and do that. What he needs to, or she needs to understand is this community wants to be engaged, wants to meet this person, and I trust that the person will do the right thing and make those opportunities available.
Thank you, and they have mentioned that to me.
Just one more thing. This is stupid. You said that the field is unused? Because I live there.
I said it is unused and unnecessary for school purposes.
Is the baseball team a school purpose or no? Because it was used in the
If the
spring.
baseball team is practicing up there, it's not necessary. There are
And the girls' soccer team as well.
We have other places they can practice.
No, okay, no, I understand. You can say you don't want to use it, but to say it's unused is disingenuous.
That's the legal.
It's unused and unnecessary for school purposes.
Unused is disingenuous.
It's a legal term.
It's a legal term.
The legislature passed it, I'm only telling you what it says, unused and unnecessary.
My dog would disagree.
I'm not sure that's a school purpose. If I understand what your dog's using the field for.
No, he's barking at the people that are using it, that are not using it, I guess I should say.
Bill, clarification, Mr. Andrews.
I'm
Are
sorry.
we legally allowed to sell that property?
Absolutely, we wouldn't be this far.
I understand, yeah, I get it.
So there's no confusion.
I understand it, and you don't need to be a good neighbor, is what I'm hearing as well.
Well, I hope I didn't infer that. That's not what I meant to say. There are rules and regulations that apply.
I get it.
We live in the, many of us live in the community. We want this, if something happens, we want it to be impactful and loved by, if not all, most. So.
And a get-go in a gas station, or I think there's one that you could roll a baseball to from there, and there's another one that's a mile, less than a mile from there. So there are two get-goes and gas stations, the same exact businesses, less than a mile. One you could roll a baseball to.
Well, we're sort of back into what I said we can't discuss, but
I hope we can someday.
I
hope we don't, with the time that we can discuss it, won't be too late, that it'll be sold. That's my fear, because you get a lot of that.
we don't even have an agreement of sale to consider.
But when you get the agreement of sale, will that be at the next meeting and I won't be there?
I can't tell you when, because
I'm here now.
We'll get it, but, I mean, we're hopeful of developing the property in the near future. I can't say much more.
And what is fact is that there are other steps in a process that we're not necessarily a part of that would then consider uses and shrubbery and other things like that the borough council or a zoning committee might be considering. So those are considerations and comments and forums for input that would impact what a final thing might look like.
No, I understand that. But the thing that gets me worried is when you use terms like unused, and I live next to the property that is currently being used and has been used right along. It's never not been used. And so that, to me, signals a certain disingenuousness, and it worries me. You understand that?
Sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't read into that. As Bill pointed out, it's a legal term that I wouldn't read anything.
And then when I hear answers like that, that makes me even more nervous.
We're bound legally
Yeah.
with confidentiality. So as we've.
So you were legally bound to use that term? Is that?
By school code, I believe.
No, I would just like to
make
know.
this more difficult than it is. The school code says that if we can't sell this building that has high school kids.
Don't get me wrong, that's not my point. My point is to use a term that is not accurate.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
I'm missing your point then. I'm sorry.
My point is you're using a term that is inaccurate and false. And so that worries me about dealing with you in the future.
What I'm
You
saying
understand?
to you is this, that property is not necessary for the operation of the Carlynton School District.
Perfect language right there. But you didn't say that. You said unused.
I used the language that's in the school code, unused and unnecessary.
And you were bound to use that language?
Look, I'm not bound to do anything. I'm repeating for you what section 707 of the school code says, period. It's not my words, It's the school codes, the legislature.
So who evaluated the land and deemed it unused?
The school board will make a determination as to whether or not that land is necessary and needs to be used for the operation of the Carlynton School District. If the answer is it is not, then it will meet the definition of unused and unnecessary. If they determine that they still want to use it for baseball or field hockey or whatever, then it doesn't meet that definition. So the board will make a determination as to whether or not they wish to use that in the future.
A season hasn't gone by that has not been used in 25 years.
I understand what you're saying.
So
Believe
to
me, I
say
heard
that it's
I'm
unused,
saying
you understand that is
I'm
disingenuous.
trying to say to you, and look, you can call it disingenuous, you can tell me I'm lying, that's fine, that's up to you. What I'm telling you is that the school board can make a determination that if they no longer wish to use that field for
Perfect,
school
yes.
purposes in the future,
Why
it
use the
fits
term that is
definition of
disingenuous?
unused and
Because
unnecessary. I can't respond to
putting
you
it
any
out there
other way,
for
sir.
you're putting it out there for the public to look at, and people go, oh, they're not using this field at all. This field is unused, which is inaccurate.
I
isn't it
think
not?
I've explained the position. I can't do it any better than that. I apologize if that doesn't do it for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Bell?
I just had a question on Holly Brandt's role. The school safety, PA school safety, had 0 suspensions in 17, 8, and 18. Are we trending upwards this year? Is that the reason for it? And are we tracking, like, you used the phrase minor misbehavior, so are there increases in the misbehavior referrals that are happening that are not suspensions? So is there an upward behavioral trend that's going on in the Crafton School District that's leading to this appointment?
In the Crafton Elementary School?
In the Crafton Elementary School, I would say the district at large, but we're talking about this
I
position.
have to take a look at numbers. The position is, even a few of the parents and one of the former employees that's mentioned, has been there. We just have not been able to fill it, and we've been looking to fill it. We were finally able to fill it, but I've had no indications by all 3 of the principals and the assistant principals that our suspension rate or our discipline rate is up. In fact, we're instituting more and more programs that keep kids in school and what I would call on the right track and focused on education. So I technically no, I don't know the answer to that question. I've had no complaints about that from the principals.
And per the teacher's contract, if nobody accepts the position, we can't fill it. It's not, we can't assign.
That's my follow-up
Yeah.
question. So
Yeah,
this
we
was
can't
a
assign it.
budgeted position for the year that was unfilled?
Yes,
Right.
mostly it's in our supplemental contract.
And she's like as needed, so it's not because there was suddenly a rash of discipline happening at Crafton Elementary, you know, we've hired part-time or full-time. It's just every once in a while there's a student, so instead of pulling one of the aides who's probably working with another student or in a class, here's an aide that we know that sometimes is protected to be able to keep this in school, keep the student in school and be able to discipline them.
I've done a lot of work with the system that you use for grade keeping in this district, and it does have a fabulous feature you currently pay for but don't use that would handle those referrals so you can track the statistical trend and get the Cognos reports delivered to you so you have them available as a board. That all is currently available to you. So all those in-school, what you call minor activities that you don't have to report to PA Safe Schools, you can be tracking and hopefully preventing them from becoming a systemic issue that they appear to. Going from 0 to 8 is a pretty big step in a single year.
And a correction on my part, the SCA contract on the teachers.
And we're actually currently discussing that as we speak.
That would be fantastic to see. The follow-up question I have, the second question was, so until a superintendent is hired, we're not going to start the parent advisory board or committee or whatever you choose to call it?
I think what Joe Apple was alluding to is that we're hoping to have at our next meeting an announcement about our potential. I didn't read anything. Okay.
That's sort of one of my initiatives that
I think it's a reasonable thing that very soon we will have, and to
right, so that's one of my initiatives that I'm pushing along, following along, and it does kind of make sense for, I don't want to start something and then it's the new superintendent comes in and he does it, but he does it a different way, and then like it's a whole another shift. But I'm monitoring and I'm trying to think of, well, what can we do ahead of time to prepare for that, even if it's collecting name, interests, nights.
I think they should all
come
come to the next meeting with
Yeah, we'll
25
just
people they're
call
bringing
this,
with them.
we'll just add it, through we end the meeting, we'll just call this the beginning.
And the board has asked me repeatedly, Mr. Shriver has asked me to engage the group, and what my response has been, I think that we're so close to having someone, for the reason that Dr. Mendoza mentioned, for me to collect people, not have the new person in place, not for that person to hear directly from the constituents exactly the direction they'd like to see the school district go in. It just seems like at this point, we might be better off to let that come. And unless there's a snag in the process that we're not anticipating, we should have a person soon. So, and that's the goal. That's been the board's goal. It's been our goal. But there are certain steps, as I said before, those steps cannot be rushed. They do take time.
And kudos for having the patience to find the right person to start the material on the board.
Well,
I know it's exciting, but patience to find the right person is quite a virtue in this day and age. It's not rushing.
Any other questions?
So just to clarify, we are not tracking the minor misbehavior referrals in our schools.
I would not say that because we are obligated to complete a state report with all disciplinary reports, and we do it correctly. What I was saying is I don't have that report in front of me to see what is reported and how it's reported, but every year we submit our report and we are in compliance with the state requirement. So no, if they want to hear minor infractions, we report minor infractions.
Yeah, they do not. The state does not collect minor.
Yeah, okay, so then whatever is required, we do.
So we're not, that was my question. We're only doing what's required. We're not tracking the minor infractions that are happening.
And again, I can't answer that. I would have to meet with the principals to talk about that.
That'd be great to hear a follow-up on that.
And Eric, your question or your point was that you think that the tool that we have has the ability to track it if we would find that helpful for
I've implemented, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I know what program we're talking about, my home district.
E-school, yeah.
We have that, it's not e-school, but it's something similar. I'm actually, for my district, I'm running the discipline reports and the data because we're trying to do changes in discipline. And what I'm finding is like that, there's inconsistent reporting or there's different, so I'm going back and I'm changing the coding for consistency, so it's a lot of stuff we're going. I think part of what Dr. Tapir is saying, he himself hasn't seen it or doesn't have it in front of him. Like if you ask him, he can go and get the data, but it's hard for any of us sitting up here without anything in front of us to say exactly where we are, or how much we're tracking. Because I know in my system, I'm asking my principals to put even minor infractions into the suspension. I'm asking them if there's even a referral to the office, it goes in there too, and what happens. Parent call this or that, so I'm coding all that to be able to do exactly what you're saying. Because that's the only way I know if intervention for discipline is changing anything.
That's right.
So I'm aware of that, what in front of me.
Thank you. Next.
My name's Wendy Hart. I live in Crafton. I don't know who to direct it to. I think you, Chris, maybe the van. So I just wanted an update. Has the van been being used? And I just needed some clarification on the one motion. But I guess my first question, has the van been being used?
Yes.
Yay. So, which is what we want.
Folks are excited that the teachers and our principal was able to take it. So a lot of folks have been excited about using it because, as I said before in a previous meeting, it has the ability to keep a lot of experiences for the kids, which I think is great. And then on top of it, add experiences for the kids, like our transition coordinator job, Mr. Pape. He's able to take some of his children out to community. He plans on taking some community activities that was not able to do before. So it's going to be awesome for the district.
So for me personally, the Ronig van services,
Ronig,
are they the ones that just kind
they do
of?
some of our individual trips to certain schools and areas. Like if we have one kid that's an outplacement that could go somewhere, and I'm just using this as an example, at a school in North Hills per se. We have to provide transportation to things that district outplaces, which is required, or anything within 10 miles. So some of those individual trips, Veronic picks up for us because they have a little more flexibility in times than STA with us, and it's a little bit better rate for us. So it's smaller vans, smaller amount of kids, more individualized transportation. Like if a child needs to go, one child has to go somewhere for one half of the day.
Right. Well, are they the ones that are monitoring or managing our drivers, like the drivers inside the school? Like
No, they're totally separate. Veronic also has a busing, they're a contractor
Okay.
also.
Like
They're
STA.
similar to STA,
Okay.
except they do kind of our individual routes with some of the vans and such.
So that motion had nothing to do with
The
our
van
van.
itself.
Absolutely not.
And I was
Okay.
going to
That's
say that
confusion.
because
Okay.
I could see where it would cause some confusion.
Okay.
But no, those checks are for Ronick, which is a separate company that we contract.
Yes.
No.
Veronic's similar to STA,
Okay.
and they provide transportation for other school districts, so busing and such.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. I see one last hand, or we, any other questions? Any board open forum questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? We are adjourned.
That's the size of all time.